Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Princess Angel Show. The Princess Angel Show is a show where we are interviewing amazing people of the world. So today I have the pleasure to meet with Dee Russell-Thomas. She is an amazing woman that I met on the Global Goodwill Ambassador GGA Foundation. She is the Global Goodwill Ambassador and UK Director, and I am myself a Global Goodwill Ambassador, a humanitarian ambassador for USA, and I found her profile very compelling, and I think that she's an inspiring woman, and I would like to introduce her to you. For the moment, my name is Angèle Ventugol-Oni, aka Princess Angèle. I'm the founder of this show. I'm a TV producer, serial entrepreneur, and more. Oh, no, we are here to talk about Dee, right? So I'm going to leave you with Dee. Dee, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Princess Angela. I really appreciate being invited. My name is Dee Russell-Thomas, and I'm based in the UK, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Pleasure is mine. Pleasure is mine. So, could you tell us about your work? I saw that you live in Gloucestershire, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I live in a beautiful part of the world. It's the Cotswolds. I live in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire. I have lived in other areas. I worked overseas. I've worked in Australia. And at the moment, I work often in the Middle East. And obviously with the pandemic, it's been more difficult, but I was able to get back out last October, November, which was amazing because 2 years ago, I was working out there and I left all my clothes there and all my shoes, thinking I would be back in 6 days. And of course, it didn't happen. So this October, I went back out and lo and behold, all my clothes were still there. It was like Christmas. And I'm hoping to go back out January the 6th. I think I'm flying back out again. I inspect schools out there.
Okay.
I think basically I have worked in education for all my life, and most of my life it's been working with vulnerable, deprived young people. So that's my background, and I began as a teacher. I moved on to work into race equality and diversity. I became a head of a service. I then went on to become an inspector, and I then went on to inspect overseas. But parallel to that, I have always been involved in voluntary work. So I was the director of the African Caribbean Association, the first woman actually in Gloucestershire ever to be appointed, which was a real privilege. I've also a magistrate, a justice of the peace, also working in the area of dyslexia and dyspraxia, a variety of things really. At the moment, I'm a Global Goodwill Ambassador for the Global Goodwill Association, the Ambassadors Foundation. And I'm the chair of the Child Welfare Group, which is lovely.
Yes.
Lots of voluntary work I'm involved in. I'm stewarding at the moment for the NHS with the vaccinations. So I do that on a regular basis. And I'm also working 1 day a week with the asylum seekers and refugees in our local area, particularly Syrians, those from the Yemen, Afghanistan, where my son has recently been based. So I've always been involved in lots of voluntary work alongside my main work.
Like me. So alongside your work. So your work, if I understood well, your first, can we say that your first work is lieutenant, right?
I was also very privileged to be appointed by Her Majesty as a Deputy Lieutenant of Gloucestershire. Again, it's a voluntary role, and it's a lovely opportunity. I've learned how to plant trees, talking to various people, and only last week I was at the citizenship ceremony
Yeah.
where people are taking the pledge to become British citizens. So that was a real privilege.
I would
Yes.
love to see this. Wow, 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 wow. I was in London for the first time, let's say 3 years ago, and I really loved it. I love it. I love England, you know? There's a kind of spirit. People are majority happy, and they're smiling. They speak to one another, and yes, I love England, but I don't know. I just know London.
Oh,
that's it.
Then next time you'll have to come to the Cotswolds,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
we have the most beautiful scenery.
Yeah. I will. I'm thinking about it. So, tell me, what's part of your work you really prefer? I know that you do a lot.
I don't even think I could say. I think all my voluntary work has been such a privilege. I started voluntary work a few years ago when I was 18.
Oh, yeah.
So actually many decades ago,
Yeah.
if I'm honest.
And you still look 18.
Oh, bless you. I've always been involved in that, so I've really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed every aspect that I've done, really. I've worked very closely with asylum seekers from Rwanda, from the genocide times then, right back to Vietnam, and it's such a shame actually that there is still a need.
Yes.
I guess
Always.
What I would wish for in life is that there wasn't a need to do this sort of voluntary work, that our world, I strongly believe that there is only one race.
Yes.
It's the human race.
The human race.
And actually, we should all be working together. There's enough space. There are enough resources. There's enough in this world to be shared, if only we knew how to distribute it evenly.
Yes. If only we knew. And this is what we are talking about in this show. We are talking about experts believing in human being, you know?
Yes.
Because I understood that when you live in a society, people are very selfish, you know? A lot of people are selfish. But if you work together, you can do so much, you can accomplish so much working together. And I use people like you, people like you to spread the word and share a message that there's people out there doing wonderful things, you know? And it's a volunteer work. I'm a volunteer in a lot, like you are, in a lot of organizations, in France, in the US, in Africa, and I really love it. I really love doing it. And I'm chairing the Modern Slavery Initiative in Harlem, in New York.
Oh, wow.
Yes, since maybe something like for 4 years. And
brilliant.
Yes, it's a wonderful experience. It's a wonderful. We work alongside organization, UN entities, and the New York City Commission of Human Rights, and yes, a lot of organization. They support us. Yes, and I realized that we can do so much with just a little.
Yes.
And
it's very interesting because you may well know somebody who inspired me hugely. I've had lots of people who've inspired me, and two stand out for me. One was Leon Greenman, who was a survivor of the Holocaust. And he lost his wife, he lost his child, and he and I just got on brilliantly. But the other one was Professor Terry Roberts from the USA.
Yes, I know him. He's not a friend of mine, but I know him.
He was one of the original 7 Arkansas children who then went to the school and had such a difficult time when they were actually trying to stop apartheid. And he came over and worked with me in the UK.
Really?
And we've been friends ever since. And a while ago, my youngest son was at Berkeley University, and he did a talk about, it was during the time of the difficulties with the police, with the black issues, etc. And my son hosted a program, and Professor Terry Roberts and the chief of police were the guests. Wow. And we were over there at the time, and we were able to meet him again, which was amazing, because I'd worked on black issues, on anti-racism over here for a long time too.
So you know the subject.
Probably not as well as you, and certainly looking at me, not from personal experience.
Yes.
But I think it's really important for white people to appreciate that they can never understand what it is like to suffer racism.
Yes.
But we can empathize, and we can do all we can to make this world a fairer, more equitable place.
Yes. And this is our work, all of us. And we are raising awareness on this. You know that when we started this initiative is 10 years old. This is the 11th year, and I'm chairing the initiative for 4 years now. And yes, and what is great with my involvement is that I can share the message with French people, with African French people.
Excellent.
Yes.
Your English is absolutely brilliant, and it's a lot better than my French.
So you will have to say a word in French. This one.
Bonjour. Je m'appelle Dee.
You see, elle s'appelle Dee. And there was a lot of people who didn't knew about modern slavery, about human trafficking, about domestic violence. And in Holland, the most important issue is domestic violence and human trafficking. Yes. And we did some workshops, and people were like, wow, here in Harlem, in New York, yes. So we have to talk about it. We have to talk, and we
absolutely. And domestic violence is such a huge issue, and it's the best kept secret.
Yes.
And it's the worst kept secret.
This is true.
It absolutely is. Recently, my sister and I were doing a walk for refuge, which is a group which provide refuge for young people and older people, anybody who's involved in domestic violence. But during the pandemic, of course, it's escalated hugely. And I've been a Samaritan for many years, and I know my friends in the Samaritans have said that the number of calls is phenomenal because there's nowhere for people to hide anymore. Which is terribly worrying.
I know, because we did a webinar with UN Women, and they share some data. I will share the link, the Zoom link with you.
Yes,
the interview.
Please do.
I'll share it. It was very interesting. And we had on the panel a wonderful woman. She's the Senior Director of Safe Horizon. I don't know if you know Safe Horizon. Safe Horizon is the largest human trafficking organization fighting to give resources to victims and helping them. It's the largest one. And she was explaining it was heartbreaking, It was, and when I talk with people about this issue, everyone say, "Oh, wow, this is heavy." Yes, it's heavy, but you have to carry it. You have to.
It makes exactly that. It makes no difference. I think we're talking about racism is heavy, domestic violence is heavy, child abuse is heavy, but we are not ostriches.
Yes,
we're not there to hide from it or to bury our heads in the sand. All of us can all play our part. And I do think also that whilst I have worked in those areas for many years, it's also important to keep a perspective on our own well-being. We need to make sure we are in good health. We are mindful of our own well-being, because if we go down, we're no good to anybody else.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to step back sometimes.
Yes.
You have to readjust. You have to sort out your own values, your own home, your own family. And I always say this to people who worked with me. Remember to look after yourself, because you're no good to anybody else if you actually don't look after yourself first.
Yes.
And that's where the happiness, the well-being, you may know that we've recently, through the GGA, been involved in this 12 months of kindness.
Yes, I was in it, but you know, because I'm in France right now, and when there is an event, and it's 6 hours before or later, and yes, but I'm following on LinkedIn.
It's been so good. It started with our chair, Gemma, asking for ideas, and I presented 10 ideas of what we could do each to help. And then we said, well, how about because people said they liked all the ideas, couldn't we do them all? And so I said, well, how about if we get 2 more?
Yeah.
And then we could do 12 months of kindness. So every month is focused on an initiative whereby we can do something supportive, something kind. It doesn't have to be financially big.
Yeah.
So one month we were all painting pebbles of hope with numbers, maybe the Samaritans, maybe refuge, whatever, for people who might need it. And then we distribute the pebbles all around our area. Another month we were doing uplifting books and bookmarks and leaving those in public places or on doorsteps. Another month we did boxes of hope, and we put inside all sorts of little treats, maybe for the children, maybe for the adults, and then just put them on the doorsteps. At the moment, I'm involved in the reverse Advent calendar, where you actually put something into a box on the first day of Advent, right the way through to Christmas, and then your box is filled, and then you give it to the homeless or the food banks or whatever.
Beautiful. Wow.
So that's what we did throughout the whole year. And then I collated all the evidence of what people had been doing and the posters that I'd made. And lo and behold, it's just become a whole book which people can use and maybe get ideas from.
I love this.
And it's the 12 months of kindness.
Oh, this is fantastic.
It's really nice. So what I've also done, because I went on a course called the Science of Happiness, which was by Yale University, which was really interesting. So I've just recently completed a training course on the science of well-being and how to do the 12 months of kindness. And hopefully that course, we will see if it's deemed to be suitable, it will take off and people can get involved in that. And it's about gratitude. It's about mindfulness, meditation. It's all about looking after ourselves, needing the sleep, needing the exercise, and how we can make ourselves happier. Because happiness just doesn't happen. You've got to work at it. And we all have ups and downs.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's not just happening. You know what? We really had to meet each other. You know what? We are connected. Right now, it makes something like 7 months. I started to learn personal development. So yes, I'm doing a certification on coaching to be a personal development coach. And maybe 10 years ago, I was a spa therapist. And I'm a serial entrepreneur, you know. I always wanted to have my company, and I did one here, and one another, and
amazing.
Yes, and I'm doing this because I became a mentor at the, I don't know if you know, do you know the Tony Elumelu Foundation?
I don't think so.
The Tony Elumelu Foundation is the largest entrepreneurship foundation for young African entrepreneurs. And they give a loan to entrepreneurs to launch their company. So I am a business, how you say, business mentor, entrepreneurship mentor for those people, and it is so rewarding. Last month, I had someone saying, "Hey, I'm a mentor myself now. I'm hired." And he's in Madagascar, you know.
I agree with it. It's so important. Many years ago, when I was working for the Race Equality and Diversity, a lot of our black young students were underachieving.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with their ability, but obviously something was going wrong. So I was looking into that and doing the research and gathering statistics. And for example, GCSEs, the aim was to get at least 5 A to C's and above, and they were not reaching that at all. Only about 30% were getting that. So I set up a project called Fishpool. And Fishpool, I called it Fishpool because I wanted something that we could throw pebbles into and it would ripple out and everyone could get involved. That meant the teachers, the students themselves, the parents, the churches, the community at large, that we should all be working together to see why our black youngsters were not doing as well as they were capable of doing. And I started, like you, with mentors. I felt they needed positive black role models. So from the community, I was able to gather these mentors, which was called Vision Mentoring. And we won a national award for it. We started off just with 3. And then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. But it wasn't enough. It actually wasn't enough to make a massive difference. So Fishpool came into being. And every year we held an award ceremony. And the youngsters got up on stage. They talked about Martin Luther King. They maybe did rap dancing. They maybe sang. They maybe talked about what they've been doing at school. They talked about the Vision Mentoring program. And 10 years later, because nothing happens overnight, 10 years later, the statistics showed that those children receiving 33% A to C's in their examinations went up to 66%.
This is fantastic.
It can be done. We can make differences. And the members of that community, those children who are now grown up, the idea is that then that gets cascaded to their children. And we used to give certificates also to their parents. I ran parent training courses as well, which wasn't about, it was nothing to do with bad parenting.
No.
It was to do with the good parents were coming, for goodness sake. And I know as a parent of 3 boys, there are tricks. When you say to your children, have you done your homework? And they say, oh, yes. You have to follow it up with, let me see. And then they say, oh, just give me half an hour. It's just making sure that we as parents take responsibility, that we as teachers take responsibility, that we as a community
of course
all work together to make the child the positive adult.
And what do you still doing this Fishpool? This is fantastic.
Absolutely. The actual service closed down with funding about just a few years ago, but I've recently been contacted, oddly enough, to say, can we get this going again, please? It's really important. So
it's very important. Because I'm really involved in some organization, non-profits here in France too. I have a non-profit. I set a non-profit here in France 11 years ago. And when I'm in the US, I try to do some connection, partnership with other organizations. But we are really involved in women empowerment and education. And we currently, we are working currently on a health foundation that we built 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Excellent.
So there's a lot to do here because here in France, they don't have the same spirit of philanthropy, you know? Yes. And this is just non-profit doing this kind of job.
Yes.
So yes, if we bring ideas from all over the world, I will be happy to have your program here. Or whatever.
And I think the key thing is as well, Angel, is that voluntary work can be and should be just as professional as paid work.
Yes.
And I think we need to make sure everybody understands that because something is voluntary, that it is free.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that the volunteers can take it less seriously.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that those who are in receipt of the services given shouldn't be given the most professional support possible.
This is true.
And for me, that's really important. My paid work is really important, and I do the best I can to the best of my ability.
Yes.
But my voluntary work, I also try to do
the best
in the same way, to the best of my ability. And for me, working with young people, I guess my motto, my philosophy was always, would this be good enough for my children? And if it's not, why would I possibly think it's good enough for somebody else's children?
For somebody else. This is true. This is true. Okay. I would like to know more about your story. Why did you decide to work on education?
Oh,
do you remember when you were young? What did you want to go to do?
When I was at school, I come from quite a large family. There were 5 children, and my mother was inspirational. She came from long-standing, there was an Irish background. Her maiden name was O'Hare.
Yeah.
Her mother died on Christmas Day when she was 14, and she was brought up by a grandparent. She married, and when she was pregnant with her second child, her husband had a brain hemorrhage and she nursed him to his death. She was left with 2 children. She then married again, and she had 3 more children. And then her son, 17-year-old, was killed. And then after that, her second husband had advanced senility and died. So my mother had a hard life.
Oh, yes.
And she always believed in education. She believed that that was the door to success. She'd come from a very humble background with very little, and she wanted her children to have what she didn't have. And I wasn't particularly good at school. My siblings were more academic, and I like to talk. I was naughty. But suddenly something clicked when I was about 15 or 16, and I thought, I want to be the teacher that maybe I didn't feel that I had. And maybe I didn't deserve, to be fair. So that took me into education. And I had loved, I'd loved working with young people. I liked working with people who didn't always want to be educated. That seemed to be my niche in life for a long time, working with more disadvantaged youngsters, but then getting involved in, as I say, asylum seekers and refugees and those who weren't achieving what they ought to be doing seemed to be the direction I was taking. So suddenly I took a swerve early on in my career and was working with people who I felt needed more support. That's how it happened, really. And then I was just really fortunate that I moved into race equality and diversity. I've always been an advocate. My mother was a strong woman, and there were 3 daughters, and she was very much an advocate of you know, we're not equal, we're better. But
I understand better. I understand.
I think she very much wanted the females to do well. I mean, also the guys as well, but she knew that there were disadvantages of being a female as well. So I guess that's also been important. My younger sister did her own PhD on women's studies. So I guess it's in us.
Yes, I understand. With the UN Women, we were talking about stereotypes and gender norms. Yes, we have to break Yes, they launched a program at the UN. It's the He for She. I don't know if you heard about it.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
the He for She program. And this is fantastic because men spoke about women works, women
Yes.
gender equality, and the message is spreading. And
Yes.
yeah. We have to do something.
And it's also about educating the men.
Yes.
I don't have daughters. I have 3 sons,
Mhm.
so and a husband. I'm not anti-men at all, but I'd like to think that my own sons are very aware of some of the difficulties that women face. I think men face difficulties too,
Yes.
and I don't underestimate that at all.
Mhm.
But I do think with regard to career advancement, for example, we talk about a glass ceiling, but I think for women sometimes it's a concrete ceiling.
Concrete ceiling. So we have to do another interview in this subject. I'm working on something with UN Women, and I will bring you in. Okay, fantastic.
Do you know what? One of the nicest things
Tell me.
that has happened, and talking about your work with UN, was one of my students who came over here with nothing from Rwanda and Burundi. Mm-hmm. And she now works for the UN.
Oh.
And when she arrived, she had no language, she had no family, she had a faith, and that was it. And within a short time, a really short time, mm-hmm. these youngsters were amazing. They taught me far more than I taught them.
Learned a lot.
And they managed in just a few years to acquire the language, to take on board the curriculum, to get to university, and to see how well they've done. Oh, how blessed have I been.
Blessing. It's a blessing. Oh, time flies. Okay, we have a few minutes left. What do you do in your spare time?
I do a lot of poetry. I belong to quite a few poetry groups. Mm-hmm. One of them is called the New Bohemian Poetry Group.
Yeah.
I think it just means aging hippies. And the other one is called She Spoke. And it's for women. And it's a poetry group that's been set up by an ex-student of mine, Halima. And it's mainly Muslim poets, but also a couple of others who've lived in Afghanistan or who are Spanish. And we get together and we write poetry. We recently performed at a local church. Okay. So I do that. I like writing poetry. And then there's the wonderful Chrissy Sykes, who has established a program called My Body is My Body. Yes, and it's a child prevention.
I was supposed to, you know, when I went to London, I was supposed to meet her, but her mother was very sick. And yes, we are both GGA. Yes,
she is great. And I do, because I do the work with her on the My Body is My Body, and I'm the chair for child welfare here. She's kindly asked me to write poetry for different areas of child protection. So I've enjoyed doing that. I like walking. I do like walking. Is that what you mean? I do like walking.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the forest, but it's around our countryside. And I belong to a rock choir. So we sing.
Oh, really?
We all sing together, and oh my goodness.
Sing a song.
It's so, I'm not that good. It's so good. But we just performed in Westonbirt Arboretum, which is the most amazing venue with these magnificent trees, and they were all lit up. It was called the Enchanted Garden. And the rock choir, 40 of us, we sang there. We sing all sorts of different songs, as well as this time we were singing Christmas songs.
Yeah, Christmas songs.
So I do manage to do other things in my spare time as well, which is really nice. I do like to get that balance if I can. And I love my family, of course. I've got a long-suffering husband and, as I say, 3 boys. And yesterday we went to see, have you heard of Jules Holland?
Yes. I heard it. I heard about it.
That was my Christmas present to my youngest son. We went off to Birmingham yesterday and we boogied with Jules Holland and Lulu and various artists, Ruby Turner, who's a black singer who's got the most amazing voice.
Yeah, wow.
So we were partying hard last night.
Yeah, this is great. This is fantastic. There's nothing better than taking family time, and yes, when you lost loved ones, you realize that family is very, very important. Very, very important to take time to. Yes, because we think that we live forever, but no, we won't.
I have to say to you on a personal note, a year ago today, my dear great nephew was killed. He was aged 15.
Ooh.
And a year ago today, my niece's first child is due today, which isn't that strange. Yes, there's something about it, you know.
Yeah.
One goes, one comes.
Always.
And I think it's really important to, you know, the tragedy has been horrendous for the family, as you can imagine, but it's really important to also celebrate new life.
Yes.
And also to help each other. We need to help each other. As I said, we can't be happy all the time, and we need to look to others. And if it's just giving somebody in the street a smile,
yes, just a smile.
Let's just give that away.
Yeah. Yes, and it's free, and it's happiness.
Yes.
You know? Okay, fantastic. So, what can I wish you for the next year?
I just wish for continued happiness in balance, because without the light, you can't have the dark. Without the dark, you can't have the light. So I realize that things aren't always going to be perfect. I think I just wish that people could be kinder to each other. I don't believe that you have to be kind all the time, because I think sometimes you have to stand up against things, and that's maybe would be perceived as not being kind. You know, if I see something that is racist, or if I see some form of domestic abuse, I'm not going to turn around and say that's okay, let's all be kind. There are issues that we need to fight, but I think that we need to fight in the most positive ways. I do believe there is more good in the world than bad, but we need to help people to find that balance, and we need to accept each other. Be kind to each other and work forward to make this world a better place.
Oh, nothing more to say. Totally agree with you. It was amazing to have you here. And
thank you so much for inviting me. I hope I didn't talk too much. I get a bit too enthusiastic.
You're this. I'm like you see. Okay, so could you say your name again and what you're doing?
Okay, so I'm Dee Russell-Thomas. I've worked in education all my life. I do a lot of voluntary work, and I'm just delighted to be here. And I send you season's greetings, and I'm here just really anticipating Christmas with my 3 sons and my 4 grandchildren and my dear husband, all of whom are very precious.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you, Dee. So my name is Angèle Ventugol-Ognier. I'm the host of this show, the Princess Angèle Show, where we are interviewing inspiring people of the world. And today we have the pleasure to have Dee Russell-Thomas. Okay, so Dee, we will do something else. Maybe next year we will plan another interview, because I have a lot of questions for you.
Oh, bless you. And thank you so much. It's a privilege, because there are many inspiring people, including yourself.
Oh,
we learn from each other. We learn from each other. Ubuntu, as they say, all working together.
Yes, all together. Okay, I wish you a wonderful Christmas, Happy New Year, and talk to you very soon.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.